This is Daniel Smith from Jets Guru. Welcome to the show. All gas, no brakes. Let's go, Jets. Woo!
Let's make sure we play like the New York Jets.
All gas, no brake.
Can't wait.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
What is going on, New York Jets and Jets Guru fans everywhere? I am so happy to be here. And listen, we're 0-1, but I've had time to kind of sit and think about it and kind of take inventory of the game. And, you know, it was a tale of two halves, like I said in the post-game report. After the game, it was just first half, the Jets did not show up. Second half, they showed up a lot more. And, I think they were a couple minutes away from probably winning that game. Obviously, you could say that about anything. That's not what happened. They lost. The Panthers had a great game plan. They came out, handed the ball to Christian McCaffrey, threw the ball to Christian McCaffrey, and they made the game simple for Sam Darnold. They didn't ask him to do too much. He just took what was there. A lot of his throws were check downs, little outs, little ins, like those types of things. But he had a couple nice throws because when you're running the ball like Christian McCaffrey was running the ball, it makes your life so much easier as a quarterback. And we'll see that eventually once the Jets get that running game going. We're going to see Zach even take the next step up because it just takes off so much pressure, and it creates a situation where the defense just doesn't know what you're doing. And then you mix in play action and little boots and stuff like that. And, that's what makes an offense dangerous, is the ability to be flexible. When your team isn't flexible, that like if you don't have a mobile quarterback, you have a guy that sits in the pocket, right? Well, you already know what you have to do to stop a quarterback. Push him to the outside if he's not a mobile quarterback. He's not used to running. You want him moving, throwing on the run, and blow up the pressure the outside. With the guys who have legs on them, you want to contain them on the edges. You want to keep them inside the pocket, make them step up into that crowded offensive and defensive line tangle and have a guy put a hand on them. And so when you got a guy like Zach Wilson, who's an athletic quarterback and can also throw the ball, and as you saw with the touchdown to Corey Davis both times, I just think the kid has an exceptional arm. To me, what was more impressive, not the one where he rolled out, and he threw the ball deep and Davis kind of slid and caught it. The one that I like the most where Davis was kind of on the corner there and he had to throw an out that, if anybody just has thrown a football before, it's not easy and it's on a rope and the guy was right there and he just flicked it and it was just out there. And the kid's going to get stronger. His arm's going to get stronger. You're talking about someone who's 21 years old. The Jets have to do right by it, and they tried. And with that, they had a host of rotational receivers that are, part of the Jets rotation, and it's great. Keelan Cole and Crowder missed the game. You still have Davis. You still have guys like Mims. You have Berrios and everything, and that depth is a big time thing. And we spoke about that before the season, not only at the wide receiver position, but on the offensive line as well. And then you see Mekhi Becton, first game of the season. He goes out there, boom, gets hurt. Now Fant has to swing. Moses comes off the bench. Imagine if we didn't have that. And then you have a depth guy having to start at right tackle in the second game of the season against Bill Belichick's defense. And I just think when you look at that, it is super, super important what Joe Douglas did. And listen, not everything's going to hit. You make all the offseason moves, you make trades, you draft, you hope for the best. And sometimes in a perfect season, everything kind of comes together, but you're going to miss on some things too, unfortunately. And that's, just how it is. Right now, I think everything looks good. I mean, listen, the problem with the New York Jets is they weren't able to get pressure on Sam Darnold, but more so to that is they couldn't stop Christian McCaffrey. I think if you stop Christian McCaffrey, you make Sam Darnold make tougher throws and Sam Darnold makes mistakes. So I'm very interested to see what Sam Darnold looks like moving forward against other teams who can actually apply pressure. But it was really tough. It was really hard to watch because that's the one thing as a Jet fan, and I bet you guys were thinking it too, where you're saying to yourself, the one thing that would probably be the hardest for Sam Darnold to fix would be just what happened last year, the mechanic breakdown, and how much live reps could you have really gotten before, the last time you were out there and you didn't look great in the course of that season. And they just let Sam get comfortable and McCaffrey was just going off. Like there were times where they handed the ball off to McCaffrey and he ran 2, 3, 4 times in a row, or it was like a screen run. You're just like, they're going to get this guy absolutely killed is what they're going to do. And they're going to get him hurt because they're going to overuse him to protect Sam Darnold. But that is the position and that's what you should do. And he plays that position and it's up to him to stay healthy. And, but sometimes you look at it and you have to say as a coach, maybe I should save my guy a little bit considering the health issues that McCaffrey's had pretty much his whole career. And he's such a dynamic back. And you saw that. And it's just really tough. The Jets had a hard time stopping the run. They had a hard time stopping those little screens. They had a hard time, getting pressure on Sam Darnold. And it made it really easy for the offense. In the second half, they tightened up a little bit, stopped some drives, but ultimately fell short. And also, I think where they fell short on their side of the ball offensively was the fact that they weren't even able to run the ball whatsoever. I mean, I was really unimpressed. I would say out of all the things that the Jets did in the last game, I would say that I was completely unimpressed with the fact that they couldn't run the football, because in a realistic world, in a real world, you want your young quarterback his first game, you probably throw the ball anywhere between 17, 22 times, something like that, spread them out nice. But when you're down on the scoreboard and you're not running the ball, you automatically have to start throwing the ball. And listen, Zach did very well in that situation. He didn't look flustered at any point in the game, even when things were going bad, even when he was getting his butt whipped. Because let me tell you, man, Zach was getting his butt whooped out there. He was getting hit. There was one hit in particular, I'm not sure if it was in the third or the fourth quarter, where it looked like they lifted him off of his feet and they just drove him into the ground. And I just, Euros was there, my buddy Euros, and we were watching the game, and I had a water bottle and I squeezed it and I threw it on the ground. And I was like, you're going to get this kid killed. What is going on here? I mean, it was ridiculous. Some of the shots he was taking, I understand he gets paid a lot of money. I understand that, you got to be tough in that position, but it's like, come on, guys, you're getting this young man killed. I mean, there's a lot more games to play. I mean, he was rocked on that play when you look at it too. He was a little slow to get up because I thought he was toast. Like at first, I think one of the offensive linemen, I'm not sure who it was, reached down to like kind of grab him. And as he was coming, you could just see he was, but the kid was tough as nails, took a deep breath, got it together, and he was ready to go. The Jets, they're going to get their butts whooped if they don't protect Zach Wilson. And it's just as simple as that. If I'm Bill Belichick, I don't think you're going to bother Zach Wilson, at least right now. Maybe 2 years from now, but I want Zach Wilson to be one of the best quarterbacks in the game. But right now, he's still riding high off of college, coming in off adrenaline. First couple games of the season, he's hyped. He's still, he hasn't had really bad moments yet in the NFL to really doubt his skill or what's out on the field or anything like that. So I don't think the pressure is going to affect Zach Wilson at all, really, especially right now, year or two down the road when he's struggling and it's like, are the Jets going to hang on to Zach Wilson in his third year? I think at that point, if you don't see much, then yeah, the pressure could build at that point. But right now, everyone is on his side. Everything is on his side. And he looks the part, he acts the part. Making him a team captain, I think in his first year, I think that shows a lot. One of the things that they say about Zach Wilson that's really cool is that he's a study junkie. He's a guy that's always watching film, and you have to kind of force him to kind of just relax a little bit. And so I am super impressed with the kid. I was impressed what I saw, and in the second half, like I said, I think if the defense was just able to put a little bit of pressure, I felt like Zach had, some throws left in him in that game. I really did. It was a different feeling. I don't know if you guys felt that way watching the game, and as they were playing better in the second half, it was just like, this kid just looks different than Sam Darnold or Geno Smith or Hackenberg or any of these guys that have been in the door. Like, he looks different. Like, the way he moves with the football and throws the football, he looks like the part. Like, you could see the pieces there. And honestly, the one mistake that he really, really made, the interception to the linebacker, I could see where he wanted to throw that ball. And the backer, instead of kind of leaning with the tight end or the receiver at that point, I don't know if it was a slot receiver or tight end, instead of leaning more into coverage, he either baited Zach, or he just watched his eyes and realized that little initial pump, and then he was going to come back to it. And he just, if you watch it, he just puts his hand up and almost like tips it, but he like grabs it. And it was a really good play by the linebacker. I mean, you have a guy that's inexperienced in the pros, and he kind of shaded and then jumped it a little bit. But it was kind of uneasy on both sides, because you could see he wanted to lean towards the receiver, but at some point he was like, yep, he looks like he's going to go back there. And then he just kind of stayed and then put the hand up, jumped it, caught it. Other than that, I liked a lot of those throws, even the incompletions. He had a few drops out there too as well, that would have looked different. And so to me, I think you have to be impressed by what you saw there. Quinnen Williams, Franklin Myers, all these guys, they're going to have to just step it up without Lawson there. One of these guys has to come out and has to be the man. It has to come out there and really make it up, because if they don't put pressure on Mac Jones in week 2 here, it's going to be a huge issue for them. And you might see a little bit more of the same that you saw last week. But with all that being said, let's talk about the Jets defense just a little bit more. And we're going to have Kevin from Live Rounds join us. And Kevin's he's going to talk to us about the Jets defense and what they can do to kind of get back on track, because you can't go out there and have the same type of performance. You really, really can't. And so as soon as Kevin's ready, you could just plug him in and start going in from there. But yeah, I mean, you look at Corey Davis, I mean, a very solid game from Davis. And there's Kevin. He's jumped into the feed now. So, Kevin, we spoke about it with the defense. They weren't able to put pressure on Sam Darnold at all. It was really disheartening for me as a Jet fan. I was getting very impatient watching the game and getting very annoyed, because the pace of the game, especially in the first half, was really brutal, and you just couldn't see the Jets making any steps towards progress. Like, it really looked like going into the half that, this was going to be the outcome of the game. And I was just dreading the news cycle to come. And if it wasn't for a second half performance that was really, really impressive by the group, and stitched the game together, this would have been a disaster show. And before I let you talk about the defense, Kevin, I want to get your opinion on this as well. I noticed something about the game, and they dominated the Jets, but for a lot of this game, but when you look at the stats, they're very, very similar. And it makes you wonder, well, you look at that first half performance, you go, the Panthers should have won by at least 10 or more. And you go, well, you look at how they called the game. Although the Panthers had their way with the Jets defensive line running the football and McCaffrey was just doing whatever he wanted, it was a very laborious type of a game. It was a lot of cuts and this and that from the running back position, a lot of short throws, compact throws, 5 yards that turns into more type of deals. There weren't a lot of big miraculous plays there from the Panthers. I would even beg to say that Zach Wilson had a way more of not only the more dramatic throws, but the more impressive and more difficult throws. They really worked Sam Darnold very, very well. Matt Rule called an excellent game, and his staff called an excellent game for Sam Darnold, but they let the Jets stay in the game because ultimately Sam couldn't give you that kill shot that you saw from Davis to Wilson to Davis, where you roll out and you throw a ball like that. Both times, there wasn't any of that. And it kind of just made me feel good about the game. Because when I sat back, I said, here's one quarterback that all the headlines are going to say, he had an excellent game and maybe the Jets made a mistake. But when you look at the innards of the game and you look at the pace of the game, it was the McCaffrey show. And it was McCaffrey who set up everything for Sam Darnold. And if they could do that and just keep Sam Darnold at a harm's way and make the throws reasonable, he can pull off a Ryan Tannehill. But what I did not see was the Patrick Mahomes. What I did not see was the Aaron Rodgers. What I did not see is that special arm talent to take you to the next level when you finally put that squad around that guy. And what I saw from Zach Wilson in his rookie year in his first game is that he does have those special extra tools, and you couldn't get more beat up in your first game as a pro than probably Zach Wilson did, and he still was able to persevere, come back, and have a great second half. So not only do I want to know how you think that the Jets can come out and stop Mac Jones in this Patriots offense, but I also want to know how you feel about Zach Wilson compared to who has been here in the past as far as the talent level and what he could be in the future.
All right. So thank you for having me on the show. Always a great time being on Jets Guru. Everyone out there, like, share, spread the word. Jets Guru, we're on tonight, but also we got the audio podcast too. So keep sharing the content and getting the word out there. Great show. And can't wait to see you at the home opener, man. It's going to be a great time. Guys, I was in Charlotte. The game was really, really hot. Trust me, sitting in the stands, even more hot, dead in the middle of the sun. And you're right. We got off to a slow start. But I also think you saw a team with a lot of the points that you're making. Like, we're not a team that's gelled together yet. And you could see it with our team so much more than theirs. Because honestly, their offensive line played better than ours, I would say. And that was probably the difference in the game. If you probably gave Zach Wilson the level of protection that Sam Darnold got, I think the Jets probably could have pulled out that. I mean, would have. I have no doubt if Wilson had time that we would have pulled out that game. Easy. And Ramon and I were talking on Twitter a little bit about the game, and he was like so excited about what he saw from the coaching staff and everything. Jets fans, for the home opener, I'm telling you right now, Zach Wilson is nothing you have ever seen from a Jets quarterback. Nothing. The things you say, especially when you see it in person, there was a play in the first quarter where he broke out of a sack, rolled to his right. It was a hot read scramble drill, and Corey Davis had two options, to break back towards Wilson or to go straight to the end zone. And Wilson just did this little thing with his hand, and the ball goes like 35, 40 yards, and it went incomplete because he led Davis farther down the field than he could go. And he was throwing on the run, just a little flick, and it was like 35, 40 yards. Davis couldn't catch it. And even his little things that you watch when you see his arm angles and the ball gets there, his accuracy and ball placement, even on his incompletions, are so good. And on that TD play that you just saw, that cornerback missed it by like 1 second. Yep. And the ball was a laser into the chest. like you almost have to absorb it into your sternum because he put that on a rope. You're just going to see him do things. And during the draft process, I remember talking about it a ton of times. So I'm sorry everybody's hearing this a ton of times. But there was little things that he did during his pro day where his body language was just more fluid. It was just more of a like they say Mahomes and Rodgers, because he's fluid when he moves. And it's very natural, very quick, very like it's deliberate but fluid. And when you see it, you just know there's something different. Because Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence even had a second pro day to try to show they had the things you're going to see from Zach Wilson. So Jets fans, I'd be excited. I would be super excited. Nothing's a guarantee, and we got to see how it works out. But Sam Darnold did not look like Zach Wilson. He did not. You just see a different level of talent, and I think that'll be evident. So get excited about that.
And Kevin, it's interesting, right? Because, I felt that at one point in time, there was a little bit more to Sam Darnold's game that is than it is become now. Literally, the Jets did not take it and try to bring it out of him. And then what is left over, the combination of him and the team, is now a quarterback who I don't think is the same person. Like, I think if you take Sam Darnold now and you take his profile from his draft day, you're talking about two different quarterbacks. Pull up the tape on Sam Darnold from when he first was a Jet and his time at USC. And you look at him now, and he is a different quarterback. They have slowed things down. They have made it very simple for him. They've made the throws really manageable. They don't want him, you could see, get into too much trouble at all. And he went from being a guy in the rain that you saw that everyone was like, oh, this is the guy to make the throws, a guy who could potentially be a franchise quarterback, to someone who just honestly is just another guy. And it's really interesting how the pro game exposes you and how you come back at it. And this is the results of it. A guy who just, I don't think will ever meet the potential of being a number 3 pick, even though he had a good game.
Yeah, I think so for me, and I said this last year, by week 2 or week 3, I had kind of already put him in his category. And fair, unfair, he's just kind of landed where he's landed. I mean, it's year 4, and he works as hard in the off season as he does the regular season. He has his own coaches. Like, he puts everything into it. So nobody doubts his work ethic or his efforts to be an elite quarterback. But I see a Kirk Cousins, man. I see a Tannehill. I see whatever that ceiling is. And, maybe with the right team, that's okay. Kerry Collins got the Giants to the Super Bowl. Like, Flacco won a Super Bowl. Hey, like, some teams find a way to win with Trent Dilfer, and he's better than Trent Dilfer, okay? I'm just saying, like, if you can win with Trent Dilfer, you can win with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's winning a Super Bowl on that Ravens team, right? You can book it.
Right.
But so if you got him on the right team with the right pieces, parts around him, and you're right, if he can get that level of protection, because as we segue over to the D, which was where we started, 21 out of his 24 completions were 6 yards or less. Our cornerback stats on this game are out of this world. They're out of this world because they weren't really Bryce Hall had 2 throws at him the entire game. The entire game. Which, we were just praising Sam a second ago. But to have 3 passes, and one of them was when Garner got hurt at safety, so they just subbed in Redwine. So they take the shot, and that's good coaching. That's what you said on Matt Rule. You're putting in a new DB. You know what a new DB isn't doing? He hasn't been in the game, the whole game, communicating to the corners of Marcus May. The first time he walks out on the field is the first time the entire game they've been talking and communicating on how to get on the same page. So, of course, Matt Rule calls a bomb. And it's like, if I'm going to take a shot with Robbie, I'm going to do it right now with the brand new guy in. Good for him. That, honestly, like I said, good play call. And Robbie, did you catch another ball the whole game? Let me look back. No, I don't got to check the stat sheet. You're playing with Sam Darnold again. Remember what this is like? After the game, this had to be exactly what the guy was like. I'm going to get 1 catch for 40 yards every game.
They'll have 8 touchdowns, for
Yeah.
450 yards. And
41 catches. Yeah, 41 catches, 38 catches. You know, it is what it is. But I didn't think sticking on the defense, two things. We know that we're young at linebacker. We know that we're inexperienced. And even first, we lose Davis. So half training camp through most of getting ready for the week one, we think Davis is starting beside Mosley. And Mosley and Davis could have kind of been interchangeable for how they fit in at linebacker. Two very athletic guys, which is why they were kind of moving and shifting things around with Mosley right before the game. When they had Davis and Mosley, they knew their linebackers, how they were lining up. So losing him is a bigger deal than I think people are giving it credit for. And then Sherwood goes down immediately, right? Sherwood, who actually played a lot in the preseason. We talked about him. He had some good plays, some bad plays, had some big plays, some big missed tackles, and he had to step it up, filling in for Davis. And then you lose him. Phillips, this 24-year-old guy, leads the league in tackles. Leads the game in tackles with 11 tackles. How many times, Daniel, do you think Mosley and Phillips were practicing together on the same units? You know?
Yeah. Right.
And Nasruddin and Phillips and Mosley got to come out of nowhere and be the whole game plan for linebackers. Dude, if you're Carolina, of course you're throwing it to McCaffrey.
Right.
If you were Matt Rule, if you were playing Madden right now and you got the third string linebacker against Christian McCaffrey, who are you giving the ball to? Your 99 level Christian McCaffrey against your 68 level third string right off the practice squad linebacker. So I saw a lot of players having to communicate, having to get better. And on the D-line, not having Quinn in there, and then Quinnen was kind of on a pitch count. He actually only had 30-something snaps, just a little 32. Only 11 pass rushing. And the Jets D this year without Lawson, like you already called out, we cannot afford C-plus performances from Quinnen.
Yeah.
And maybe this was a B- because he did get 3 quarterback hits. He did, he wasn't like, just another guy like Joe, like Bill Parrs would say, just another guy. But he's got to be Pro Bowl for us because that's the way that Franklin Myers and Rankins and Huff and Edwards are going to – if he is just dominating the game, because Franklin Myers, in Quinnen's credit, had a great game. 3 tackles, tackle for a loss, sack, and it's much easier for him to do that with the guy beside him getting so much attention. And I expect Rankins and Quinnen to get better. This matchup, New England struggled with pass rush. They struggled. And you already talked about not having a mobile quarterback. The difference between having a Zach Wilson and a Mac Jones is, and this is going to be, Daniel gets excited about this. How do we have to slow down? When we were making the playoffs all the time, how do we slow down Brady? Rex Ryan blitzed, and he had a great D-line, and he moved him off the block. He made Brady move. He had to move while he was thinking, while he was throwing. And it's funny because now when you look at what they have with Mac Jones, it's going to be very similar. I'm not saying we're playing Rex's defense because we're not at all. The D-line in this defense has to generate the rush because we play zones, a bunch of zone schemes behind it. And the D-line's got to be good. And that's Quinnen's got to lead the charge to make everyone's life easier. I think we have some players. I like the new guy, Edwards, too. I think we got to watch and see how he matures and how Franklin Myers matures. They're both young guys. And this year, and this is what makes me a little upset when I read fans' takes on some of these games. It's like if we lose, it's like doom and gloom, right? This is an evaluation year. We're still building the foundation of this team. So is Bryce Hall the real deal, right? That Carter to the second, Guidry, Eccles, it's a big evaluation period on how high we're going with adding secondary people. And same thing with linebackers. Sherwood, Nasruddin, Davis is on a 1-year deal. The Jets are building and figuring out which of these guys are the future of the team. And the one positive thing I'd ask fans to take out of these games is I think you're seeing some of those things, right? Corey Davis looks like the real deal at linebacker to me. I know Becton got hurt, but Becton looks like he's going to be at least serviceable. Is he going to be a all-pro, Pro Bowler? I don't know. But when he's healthy, he's going to be a stable left tackle. And Wilson looks like the deal, right? And then on the defense, we got Quinnen looking really like he's going to be part of the future, but everyone else we're measuring. So the whole thing about wins and losses, is there a big difference if we win 6 games or 8 games or 5 games? To me, you're not measuring the wins. Do you want to be 3-13? No. But if you're 3-13 versus 8-8, the difference is going to be how many positions have you figured out? And that's what you're looking for in these games. If we win, that's great. But if we win and Nasruddin looks really, really good and Hall looks good and another corner looks good, that's the win. That's the win. I don't look at this season like it's playoffs or bust. We're so young. I think I saw we have 14 rookies on the roster, more than any other team in the NFL, right?
Youngest team in the NFL. Yep.
So we got to find out about all these young players. And that's the best thing, is that you get to see them getting reps. One thing I'll give Saleh credit, and everyone will jump on the Mims thing, and that's fine. You can jump on the Mims thing. But Michael Carter was out there. Ty Johnson got the most reps at running back. We're seeing young players play. So I don't want to hear that Mims, he's not using young talent. Ty Johnson had 30 reps on the field. Not 30 carries, but he was on the field for 30 snaps. Coleman was 17 and Carter was 16. Carter dropped that big third down when he was lined up at wide receiver on the quick out. And I don't know if it would have got the whole 12 yards, but I would have liked to seen him on the corner and at least push it.
Sure.
And, and Ty Johnson stole his rep. So what I do appreciate the fact we're seeing these guys. The young secondary looks good. This is a game we got to get pressure up the middle. And Mac Jones against our secondary is going to be fun to watch. How can you not be excited about that? But I mean, legit, these aren't elite receivers that we're even matching up. Nelson Aguilar, Bryce Hall against Nelson Aguilar, I want to see.
No, absolutely, for sure, man. I mean, when you look at this game, I think I just hate playing, Bill Belichick, obviously, in the Patriots. But I understand they're not the same team as they used to be. But he's still a good defensive mind. I'm interested to see how he plays Zach Wilson and how he comes out of the gate and attacks him. Is he going to kind of sit back and watch the kid and see? I don't think you want Zach Wilson getting into a rhythm. That's just my personal opinion. When you watch him play, it seems like he feeds off of that. You want to kind of do what the Panthers did in the second half. You want to put more of your effort into shutting down the run and also into getting into Zach Wilson's face. Just not because you're going to make him make a bunch of bad throws, but more so just because his receivers won't be able to complete their routes, and it's not going to be a crisp offensive drive. And that's what you want. You want to make him work for everything. I don't think a 3rd and 7 doesn't scare me anymore. A 3rd and 8 doesn't scare me anymore. When I watch Zach Wilson play football, I realize that he can get all those yards and then some. It's not going to be just a 5-yard check down and hoping that a missed tackle happens. I don't think he's that type of a quarterback. So I'm very interested to see how Bill Belichick plays it. Also, I think a big key in this game is to see if Matt Amendola can actually punt again. I mean, to see if he can actually be that guy, because it is a serious, serious thing. Kevin knows and everybody knows I do not like kicking in football. I think that 2-point conversion should be backed up further, and a 1-point conversion should be a little bit closer, and you have to go for it every single time after the score. And you shouldn't even have to punt the ball. Everyone starts at the 20. And you could just get kick returns out of the game. Everyone says they're exciting. They're not exciting to me, because then I wind up losing a up-and-coming young linebacker or a depth wide receiver. So, that's how I wind up looking at it. Like, how often do you see a New York Jet return a touchdown? Hardly ever. So I'd rather not have my guys get hurt and get rid of the field goal kickers and the punters. And listen, I don't have anything against them. I think that Braden Mann is an excellent punter. I thought he was having a good game, and I thought he had a good preseason before he got hurt. But you can live without him. You could definitely live without him. But I'm interested to see how Matt Amendola does. If he could punt, I think he averaged four. Oh, that is a big bug, dude. Hold on real quick. There's like a little garden over here. A really big bug over there. Oof, that was close, fellas. But when you look at it, I'm wondering, he averaged 48 yards per punt last week. Listen, a guy like Amendola is not a punter, guys. So it's not like he's going to have like huge hang time on his punts. So the ball's not going to hang in there. He'll probably get you the distance. Like he could probably repeat what he did last week, which would be really impressive. And if I was him, I'd honestly start getting some work. I mean, if you could do both, it's just another tool you could put in your belt to keep yourself on a roster. But he's not going to have the hang time, but he could still have the distance. So you know that the Patriots, they always have like a good special teams. And so it's like, you got to be careful with that for sure. I haven't really seen him, kick field goals yet in a big game. So that's another thing we got to look to see here. I think the Jets, I think it's going to be a more consistent game. I don't think it's going to be the Jekyll and Hyde that we saw in the Panthers game. I think that the Jets are going to have a little bit more rhythm to their drives earlier on. I think they got punched in their mouth pretty hard. And I think in the second half, you saw a team respond and start to really get into the inner workings of their playbook. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, if he comes out and Zach Wilson gets his butt whooped again, like he just did, I mean, it's going to start to be like, all right, guys, come on. But at the same time, I think to have that be your week one, I think week 2 should be a lot better. And also, again, there is no Christian McCaffrey out on that field. And I can't stress that enough, like how important that really is, guys. Like watching Christian McCaffrey run the football you're watching magic. The guy's footwork, his ability to see ahead, and in combination with his movement is just absolutely stunning. The guy's a fantastic running back with literally no help. You name me the MVP quarterback. I don't know. I don't think he was there, right? He came right after Cam had his big season, right? I don't think he was there for that Super Bowl run, right?
No,
McCaffrey,
he wasn't there for the Super Bowl. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so it was right after that. And so it's like he hasn't had a chance to really to work with an elite of the game. And, he's doing everything out there in Carolina. And it's just fun to watch. And I'd love to see that, as a Jet fan, having Curtis Martin on deck for all those years. I know most of the league comes to some kind of a rotational type thing. But at the same time, I'd really, really like to see a guy in this grouping take the lead at running back, whether that be Ty Johnson or Michael Carter eventually, or someone to really take the bulk of it. Because, when you run with the football, you could get into a nice rhythm. Rotation is nice, and I love rotation. But like Kevin highlighted, when Michael Carter messed up a little bit, it was Ty that took more of theirs. And that works for me because you're holding people accountable. You're also playing the guy who's having the hot hand. And I think that's great. It brings challenges. So I know if Michael Carter's having a good game, I don't have to worry that the coach is going to drift off of that. I know that he's going to keep feeding him the ball, so I'm super excited. I really am about this football team. One of the things, Kevin, though, that was kind of alarming that came out of all the talk this week was the fact that Denzel Mims, there was some kind of chatter. Now, when you look at this, to be all honest with you, I was thinking the same thing. There was reports in camp. He was getting moved over, out of the starting position that we all thought he was going to be in. And we thought that maybe he just wasn't getting the playbook right, or he wasn't healthy. And Samini winds up saying that I guess there was a rotation of plays in camp and that weren't looked at right. And they also didn't like his response to some things. And it kind of went on from there. Listen, I have no clue what the real truth is on the situation. What I can say is this. like any job that you go to, you could be pushed out on the outside very, very quickly. I've been through it. I've seen other people go through it. Just because it's football, it's still a business organization. There's still favorites. There's still your guys. There's still a lot of different things that go into play. And, Denzel, unfortunately hasn't had the opportunity to outprove the doubters too much because he's been hurt a lot. But what I will say about Denzel Mims is this. Anytime that I've seen Denzel Mims actually get the ball or be thrown to, he does a fairly good job, more than I've seen a lot of receivers as New York Jets come through in his body positioning, how he goes up and gets the ball. He somehow always finds himself down the field, even though, he's not a Blazer. He's a strong physical receiver. He could get extra yards. He's deceptively fast. Like maybe not necessarily out of the gate, but once he gets going and the wheels start turning, he picks up speed. Yeah, I want to know why he's not playing too, because it really makes no sense. And now the people that are saying, well, Braxton Berrios, and listen, Braxton Berrios plays in the slot. Mims doesn't play in the slot. Okay, guys. And then I see some other messages like this too. Well, Denzel needs to learn more of the route tree and start learning those slot routes because if he wants to get on the field because there's a lot of competition. Well, guys, they have those positions for a reason. They have slot receivers and outside receivers for a reason. Not everyone can be an inside-outside guy, an outside-inside guy. And that's what you have to understand. And to me, just Denzel's body movements and just his physical frame, I wouldn't want to put him in the inside. I like him on the outside. Like every time I've seen Denzel Mims go up for the football on the outside, like he's had perfect positioning. He's gone up over top. And there's many instances I could pull up from catches last year where the ball was overthrown high, but you look at where, or to the right, and you look at where Denzel was, his body positioning, where he was right there, ready to go for it, and had the move on the cornerback. And I think this kid is talented. I would hate to see the Jets move on from him because Keelan Cole's a rental. Berrios is a depth guy. And then you have Corey Davis. And, just because Elijah Moore had a good camp doesn't mean he's going to be an electric pro. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. Maybe he is. Maybe he's going to be a stellar pro. But until he actually goes out there and does it, I've seen Mims play football games before, and I've seen him do pretty damn well. And if you look at his stats, and compare to the top receivers that came out of his class, it's very interesting because you got to remember Mims didn't play the first 5-6 games of the season while these guys are compiling stats. But once Denzel Mims in that chunk of the season where he started playing, he was right in the pack with the CeeDee Lambs, with all those guys. The only one who was the outlier was Justin Jefferson, who had an absolutely stellar wide receiver season for his rookie year. But other than that, he was right there with everyone else. And that was while missing 5 to 6 games and playing with Sam Darnold and having Adam Gase be your play designer. And the offensive line was terrible. And they didn't have a running game. And he still was up there getting 40, 50 yards in the first half of the games. And then all of a sudden, the second half of the game came and Denzel Mims disappeared. And people say, oh, well, he just disappeared in the second half. Well, the Jets stopped throwing him the ball. Also, the defense focused in on him, and Adam Gase had nothing for the defense in return. And so when you stack all those things together, the only thing you could, to me, honestly say that is a drawback from Denzel Mims is his health. And that is it. When you talk about how he's actually played, listen, if you stack his footwork up against Keelan Cole, against Crowder, against all these guys, maybe he fails the test. Maybe he's the last guy on the board when it comes to actual technical ability, is running his routes and playing the position. But in the games, from what I've seen, he's been nothing but a real solid receiver. And so much so that I'm always excited to see them throw him the ball more. I'm always wanting the Jets to throw Denzel Mims the ball more because I always get excited for what I've seen when he does get the ball. So I don't know. I think it's a situation that needs to be cleared up nearly immediately. And honestly, if it really is some stupid pettiness or you're really pushing a guy down on the depth chart because of like a practice or two, then I just think that's really petty. And that's going to make me question some of the things once again that they do over on that side of things with business, because you just drafted the guy. And yeah, if he's not available, that's one thing, but he's available. And I'm going to have to find some use from him. So when you look at it, Corey Davis doesn't come off the field, and he's one of those guys, you don't want him off the field. You want him playing those shares. And so it's going to be tough. There's an honesty to the situation too. He hasn't been in camp. He hasn't been in a ton of games because he's been injured. And when you have professionals like Keelan Cole can move in and outside, Elijah Moore, who, just naturally can move in and out outside, and you already have Corey Davis out there, you're going to be fighting for some reps. And that's just how it's going to be. But I still think that 3 plays is probably not enough for Denzel Mims, Kevin.
It's going to be really, really interesting how this plays out, because in this offense, we want more motion. Like, I think we all love the pre-snap motion and how you can kind of read the secondary and read the linebackers and everything that goes with it. And it makes quarterback's life easier. The other thing to think about is Mims has got to be that guy. He's almost got to be like the Decker was to Marshall, where he kind of moved around a little bit because Marshall was definitely the number one. And Corey Davis is the number one. Guys, we have a number one receiver. I promise you, Corey Davis, I talked about Wilson a lot earlier, but there's no way you're not going to love Corey Davis. He is a big-time player. And we talked about him, how elite he was in college. He's that guy. So you just put him out there and he beats people. Period. He's faced a guy who's about to be a Pro Bowler. I promise you, J.C. Horn is a special corner. And Chin at safety is already a Pro Bowler. They got two Pro Bowlers in their secondary. And Corey Davis is that guy. Now for Mims, he's got to be the other guy. And you're right, Cole's a rental. It's of the Jets and Mims' best interest to be the guy. So you don't have to bring Cole back, and you still got a guy on a rookie deal as your long-term number 2. Mims has got to beat him. You just talked about how good Elijah Moore looked. And it's like you have to play him because he looks good. You have Crowder, and Crowder can play, but you have to play more because he looks good. He might not, like you said, we don't know what he's going to be, but he looks so good in practice, you have to play it and figure out if you can unlock that cheat code in a game. That's what the Jets are trying to do right now. Mims has got to do the same damn thing. The practice reports I read need to be and now we can't read them because we can't watch them, but he's got to be electric. And if Cole can do some of those motion things and he's beating him now, Mims has got to beat him, to me, regardless of the petty stuff. To your point, just plays so damn well because he doesn't look like Calvin Johnson in practice. I don't know if it's a classroom thing. I don't know if it's he's not picking up the hot read versus the zone read and when he's supposed to adjust. I don't know what he's not picking up because playbooks, to everyone's point, in the NFL is way more complex than what you do in Madden. I promise. They got to do it, not just hit a button and it does it for them. They're mentally processing all this shit because the route that they run is different for a man-to-man hot read than a zone hot read. And they don't have 3 seconds to think about it. As soon as the snap goes off, you think that quarterbacks are the only ones reading defenses? This is complex stuff. And the other piece I would flip on that is if they're slow or they run the wrong thing, and Zach Wilson, you already talked about it. He had no time the entire game. When Zach Wilson reads what the defense is doing, in the back end and the front end, and he knows where to go with the ball. The kid knows where to go. I promise you. He's a special quarterback. The receiver cannot not be there because that's how Zach Wilson will get killed. Because he stares down the safety and then turns at the last second to throw a laser to a guy who's not there. And he will get crushed every time he looks and has to pause for a second because someone's not where they're supposed to be. You only get 1 second to draw that safety. As soon as he turns his head right, where do you think the safety goes? To the right. It has to be a laser. And something's happening where the confidence has to be there. And Wilson and the coaches in Mims, in himself, that he's going to be where he has to be at the right time. Something's missing. And Mims has to fix it. And he has to have everyone's confident, regardless of the petty stuff. So I agree with you. When he's playing, he's looked good. But he needs to be like the guy. And this week, it's going to be really interesting because, as you pointed out, Colin Crowder came back. Moore's already healthy. Davis. Berrios is your kick and punt returner. There's 5 receivers. So is Mims. There's gonna be some interesting inactives this week. Jeff Smith plays on coverage units. Mims isn't a gunner. Smith's a gunner. Berrios is a gunner. There's going to be some tough roster decisions. And I think there's going to be some Jets fans that are very, very upset. But hopefully Mims can turn it around. He learns what he needs to in the classroom, shows them on the field, and he will get into games at some point because he has to show them that he has to be there.
Yep, absolutely. I think when you look at it, it's one of those things where it's an unfortunate situation of him being drafted, a new offense coming in, him not exactly they wouldn't have drafted someone like Denzel Mims to play their offense if they were the ones making those picks at that time. And Denzel is
and I agree. The scouting report and the floor might have had a different opinion on it than Gase. I agree.
Right. And Denzel Mims to me is set up to be the number 2 receiver, hands down. Because like you said, he doesn't do anything else really. Like, so you have to at some point see what this guy has. Because even if let's say you want to trade him and get rid of him, although as a Jet fan, I see a lot that if you actually play him, you might have something there. I think across the league, you might want to play him a little bit more and get a little more out of him and see what's there. So, I mean, listen, I think during the season, it's going to present itself either way. It's very hard to stay healthy a whole year. And I think Joe knows that. But I just think it would be wise for the New York Jets to nip this in the butt pretty early before it keeps getting worse. At least address it. And at least get out there and get this kid some snaps. I mean, 4 plays, I can understand you maybe not getting that many catches because as you could see, Zach likes to spread the ball around a lot. But to not really get any, to actually be on the field, it seems a little bit more than just some practice missteps. But you never know. We're not there, and so you can't 100% put your hand down. Nobody really can. Only the people that are actually in the building. You just hope that the Jets find a way to figure it out because we do like this depth. But with that being said, I got to head off to do another event. I'm going to start doing my own Jet show on an app called Colorcast that you could download on your iPhone. And I'm going to be talking about the Jets matchup against the Patriots and some of the things we've seen, a little bit more of an overview of what we see here, not as in depth. But they asked me to do it. I figure I'll try it out. The guru's always out there hustling, trying to find ways to get my beard out there and into the masses and to the people. So we're going to go head over and end it. But I'll tell you what, guys, you should be excited about the second half of that game. I know it's, you're tired of hearing these things and you say, listen, I just want a team that's going to go out there and whoop some butt. But a lot of moving pieces like we spoke about. I saw the Jets stay 8 wins. We'll probably reevaluate the schedule next week going into week 3 and just kind of see, hey, do we still think the Jets are going to be where they're going to be at? Because then by then you've seen a couple of the other teams. You look at Cincinnati. They look like they might be tougher than anticipated. Philly might be a little tougher than anticipated. Who knows? But let's look at the schedule and discuss that and next week. But please check out our shows Sundays. We didn't have one last week because Kev was in Carolina, but we'll definitely get one together this week and get you something for the Pats game that you can listen to. And actually, no, we can't even do it this week.
I was just thinking I'll be at the tailgate.
Not just that, because I would do it from the tailgate, but I'm actually going to be upstate New York. I'm going to be actually jetting back as fast as I can, not to miss game time because I hate missing game time. So I won't actually be at the stadium because I have a prior engagement that I do have to be at Saturday into Sunday and waking up early Sunday morning and heading home. So I won't be able to do that. So you'll miss us for just one more week, but we'll get on there pretty soon and get you some fresh episodes. If you want to listen now, we already have some up that you can listen to and get loose with us. And so appreciate all the support as always on Live Rounds, on Jets Guru, and just Jets World as well. If you guys don't know about that, go on Facebook and type in Jets World. That is a few of us Jets heads here that have pages all on Jets World each day, sharing different things. And it's going to grow over time. It's still new. I'm busy is all busy could be right now. And I know Kevin and a few other people are too, but we're going to keep growing that. And, Tyrus is there, and, get CJ out there. So there's a few guys holding it up, and we're going to keep growing on that platform as well. So keep sharing, keep liking, and being part of the community. And we will see you Sunday post-game report. Hopefully I'm all smiles and juiced up about the Jets victory. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let 'em. Yeah.